Hello and welcome to another episode of A Drop of Wine. Today we're going to talk only about Bordeaux, one of the most sought after regions in the world. We are your hosts. My name is Philip. I have the background of hospitality, always had a passion for wine, and now made this kind of my profession together with Joaquin.
Hello, my name is Joaquin. As Philip just mentioned, happy to be here again. Second episode, quite excited. Well, I would say let's start directly. Just from my background, I'm a very big wine lover. And we two together, we just love wine and we drink wine. So, well,
So, of course, we're a wine podcast, so we're gonna drink some wine today. Today, Joaquin brought a bottle.
last time Philip brought a bottle of wine. Today it's my turn. So I brought a wine from Bordeaux as it's today's topic. We have a great Smith au Lafitte, Chateau Smith au Lafitte from the year 2017 today. I will open it directly as we will need to decant it to aerate it a little bit as it's quite young. So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Cheers now.
Thank you for bringing the wine. I think it's a great bottle. I haven't had this vintage yet, so quite excited.
You didn't have it? No?
I didn't have 2017 yet, no.
You had Smith au Lafitte before?
Yes.
This is quite tricky right now.
While you're opening the bottle, how did you find your passion to wine?
So wine is in my family since many years. We have a small wine cellar at home, and I was always looking at the bottles and everything. So it's there since years, and it got stronger and stronger. So, and as you know, in COVID, it got stronger. So I just opened this wine. So I will just pour some. Phil, maybe you want to try?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you.
I will try too.
Good idea. So it's very young. It has these fresh cherry aromas, like when you walk in early summer through a cherry garden. Not completely ripe yet.
But it smells amazing.
Really nice, velvety. Good idea to decant it. But I think the wine has great potential.
So why do we decant the wine if you don't know it? So for the people who are just listening, we're just pouring the bottle of wine into a nice Riedel decanter, which allows the wine to aerate. Means that the wine gets some oxygen and the aromas can just open up more.
The tannins soften. Tannins are the thing that makes the wine sharp, I would say, and like edgy. So when you give air to it, the tannins tend to get softer. What usually happens when you age the wine, thank you, you can kind of expedite when you pour it into the decanter. Aromas express themselves better and the wine gets more approachable.
So what else can I tell you about this wine? So maybe the grape varieties could be interesting. As we are in Bordeaux, maybe as you know, we have this big river in Bordeaux, the Gironde. We have a left bank and a right bank of the river, which a lot of people always mention, left or right bank. So in this case, we are on the left bank of the Gironde, which is famous for the higher amount of Cabernet Sauvignon in the wines. If you compare to the right bank where you use more Merlot and Cabernet Franc, in this case we have a 60% Cabernet Sauvignon, 35% Merlot, and the rest is Cabernet Franc and a little bit of Petit Verdot. 2017 maybe. Do you know something about the vintage?
It wasn't one of the best vintages in Bordeaux. So maybe not one to age for 30, 40, 50 years. Usually the wines are approachable, a bit younger. Not so sure anymore about the weather.
The weather was cool. What makes the wine, what makes it quite nice, if you compare it to a 2015 vintage, which was a warmer vintage, I would say. I think it's more elegant and you don't have these jammy fruits in here, what I really like about this wine, about this vintage.
Definitely.
Maybe talking about the classification.
this wine doesn't have a classification,
It
right? Or it
has.
has, but
It
not
has.
the.
But not the classification of 1855 in Paris, which is the most famous classification, I would say. As maybe you've heard of the Premier Cru Classé, Deuxième Cru Classé, Troisième Cru Classé. So this is not this classification. Here we have a Grand Cru Classé, but the Grand Cru Classé of Grave. So maybe just to introduce you to this whole classification system. So in 1855, the first classification system was born in Paris, which was considered or classified in 5 groups. It's 1 to 5, so starting with Premier Cru Classé, going to the second one, to the third one, until we come to the 5th classification. And all the very, very famous wines, talking about left bank, for example, Lafite Rothschild, the big ones, I would say, they are in this classification, and they are in the Premier Cru and classification.
Back then, it was a sign of quality. So only the best vineyards had the Premier Grand Cru Classé. Nowadays, it changed a little bit. You have also in the 2nd, 3rd, 5th classification wineries that have the exact same quality as the Premier Grand Cru Classé is talking about. Chateau Palmer, Leo Villas-Cas.
Yeah, I agree.
They are all great wines, which also some of them get 100 points by several wine critics. Some of them reach the same price points as the Premier Grand Cru Classés. So, it's 1855.
Exactly.
It's been.
But there was one exception, because all these wines are in this classification since 1855, except one. It's Mouton Rothschild.
Yeah.
In 1972, there was an exception made, where Mouton Rothschild went from Deuxième Cru Classé to the Premier Cru Classé, which was the last event they had in this classification system. I don't know why, actually, and how it happened.
Rothschild.
Yeah, I have no idea, but yeah.
And then on the right side, just to summarize this whole classification system, on the right side of the river, you have Pomerol and you have Saint-Emilion. Pomerol doesn't have a classification system.
This where it's from Pomerol, by the way.
Saint-Emilion has Grand Cru Classe A et B. Within this, every 10 years, they can get classified in a new way. For example, Chateau Figeac moved up from B to A. Whereas also other ones, for example, Cheval Blanc, Auxonne, they completely left the classification because they said, we're just gonna do our own thing.
Exactly. So coming back to our wine, this is not in the 1855 classification. Here we have an own classification. It's called the Grand Cru Classé of Grave, of that region, which is again our own classification system. Exactly. So there's nothing else to mention here. So I think during the whole episode today, we will just see and just look how the wine just develops and because with the oxygen, it opens up, as Philip said the tannins get more soft, and we will just see how it develops.
So we talked about the classifications and the left side of the river and the right side of the river. Of course, on each side of the river, they have preferences for the grape used in their wines also.
Exactly.
So maybe you can tell us a bit more what they use on the left side, what the preferences on the right side,
Sure.
and what grapes are even allowed to be planted.
So I mentioned it very shortly before already. So on the right side, to start on the right side, we have a higher amount of Merlot used in the wines and Cabernet Franc. This is the main point. So, for example, you have great, very, very big and known wines and wineries from the right bank, from Saint-Emilion, from Pomerol, which only use Merlot, 100% Merlot, and higher amounts of Merlot and Cabernet Franc, as I mentioned. Going on to the left side, we are working more with Cabernet Sauvignon, also with Merlot and all the other grape varieties. But here it's one point, like when you have a blind tasting, for example, and you're just trying to find out the grape variety. And if you're sure you're in Bordeaux, so you get more into the which grape is inside. There is one tricky one where most of the people always get confused. I'm talking about Chateau Fichac on the right bank, which you would think that it's more Merlot because it's on the right bank. Or it's everyone does their own thing.
Yeah.
But so this wine is there's a higher amount of Cabernet Sauvignon than Merlot and the other grape varieties.
They're the exception on the right side.
Yeah.
Talking about, Bordeaux is famous for red wines, but white wines are up and coming. Some of them cost more than the red wine, actually. And there are a few famous chateaus, for example, Haut-Brion. Haut-Brion Blanc is one of the most expensive wines in Bordeaux. Smith Haute Lafitte produces an amazing white wine. Domaine de Chevalier, Yquem. What are grape varieties used for white wines in Bordeaux?
What is famous in Bordeaux is that they use Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc. They blend it and they make the Bordeaux Blanc out of it. And the fact is that they also use some oak sometimes. But the main grapes are Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc. Also, then if you go more to the south of Bordeaux, to Sauternes and Bassac, this is also the place where they use mostly Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc to blend and to make the sweet wines.
So famous example is Chateau d'Yquem. I think we can stop talking about the classifications now, but Chateau d'Yquem is that good that they are the only ones within their top level of the classification.
Yeah.
But enough of classifications. From all the wines, or which wine was it? I know which one it is, but I think it matches the topic. Which wine was the first one where you said, "Oh my God, this is amazing," in your whole life?
Bordeaux wine or
in general?
I think I would not stay in Bordeaux. I would go to Burgundy maybe.
The first wine that ever.
The first wine. I know. You know the answer.
Yeah. That's why I'm asking.
So that's a great story. So in the beginning, I was not a very big red wine fan, I would say. I really enjoyed drinking white wines, but I was not into red wines. And there was one evening here in Vienna, actually, where I was with my mother and with a business partner of my mother, and he loves to drink wines. He's a very big wine enthusiast, and we were sitting in a restaurant, and I just came to say hello, and he said like, "Oh, Joaquin, do you want some red wine? Do you want to try a glass of red wine?" And I said, "No, I'm not a very big fan of red wine." So he managed to give me a glass of red wine, and I just tried it, and it was so good, and I really liked it. It was quite interesting because I had no idea what I was drinking. I had no idea how much the bottle was. Nothing. I just saw that it looked expensive, the bottle, but I don't know. I had no clue. So I went home and I remembered that wine because it was delicious. And in the end, I found out that it was a Chateau Margaux from the vintage 2000, which was a very, very
amazing vintage.
And it was fun because I started quite
strong start.
Yeah, exactly. But so this is also like the story how I started liking red wine. What about your first experience with wine?
My first experience with wine, it's a bit hard. It's not as fancy as yours. The first white wine that I really, really liked was from Lagnatinacher, Gelbe Muscatella. So like a more floral and fruity wine. It's dry, but it's, Muscatella, Muscato in some other countries. In terms of red wine, I think the first one that I really liked was from Giacomo Breida, Abrico dell'Ocellone. It's a Barbera.
I know it, yeah.
I think it's also, I still really like drinking it. And then, from there I just started exploring more. I went wine club at university, which I joined and then led and managed for a couple of years. And then, interest raised, and then down the rabbit hole, there's more and more to find.
Sounds similar to me. So after having this Margaux, I started exploring also and having a look what else I like. I didn't find anything actually. No, I'm joking. This is how it worked.
And do you have any Like if you think about all the wine nights we had and tastings and beautiful evenings, even if it's just like a couple's night, like a special memory that you have with wine, which until now you couldn't forget about.
I think for me, the biggest experience I had, I mean, it was not with you, I think.
Oh.
Sorry for that. It was, I went to a wine tasting a few years ago where I had all the big Bordeaux in Magnum bottles. It was a tasting, it was the first grow tasting of Bordeaux. So all the big five, which are the big five: Lafite, Rothschild, Motor Rothschild, Aubryon, Latour, and Chateau Margaux. These five. So I had these 5 wines from 3 different vintages, all in Magnum bottles. I think it was 83, 1993, and 2003.
Yeah.
This
was like a beautiful evening.
Yeah, it was amazing. And you know, it's fun because all of these 3 vintages are off vintages. They're not like the big rated ones, but this was quite interesting because they were all outstanding. The worst wine of that night was, actually, sorry to say that, but it was your vintage, 93 Margaux, yeah. I don't know, but maybe something was wrong with the wine.
Yeah, maybe. Because I had it on my birthday and it was quite
True, yeah, it was different there, yeah. So yeah, this was one of my highlights because, and then after that, we went to the wine cellar of that place because it was a dinner, and yeah, the party went on. So then we started drinking Burgundy in the end of the night, but yeah, that's a different topic.
You know, for me, actually, one memorable night, it was with you.
Okay, I thought, oh,
We were in your house in Tirol.
oh, true.
We were sitting on the terrace. There were some of your friends. We were doing barbecue. We had crazy wine, cigars, I don't know, till 3 in the morning. And we opened all these crazy bottles, Lafite, Mouton,
Yeah.
Latour. There was no order or something, but it was just such a funny night. And we tried great wines all blind.
All
Just
blind,
came,
yeah.
just went to the cellar, decanted it, and then brought it out to try. And we were sometimes super surprised how good some wines were. And then we were shocked how, like, we had, I remember 2015 Mouton. And everyone was like, wait,
What? No, yeah, I remember that. I was sad after that too.
but the night was amazing.
That's true. And I remember your face when I unveiled the wine, the wines. It was fun, because you were not expecting that.
No, not at all.
So first I opened the Mouton and he was like, "What? You opened a Mouton? Crazy." Okay. Next one was Lafite Rothschild.
And Lafite blind was outstanding. Still one of my favorite wines.
It was young, but it was interesting to have this wine also in a younger vintage.
Lafite 16.
16, yeah, 100 points.
Yeah, really good wine. So a lot of talking. Let's get back to drinking.
I was sipping on it all the whole time.
Yeah, for sure. But it developed a lot already. It became so silky and smooth. The fruits are getting out more. It's less of these fresh cherries. It's getting more into a little bit darker fruits. They're getting riper.
I really like it.
Yeah. Get some notes of truffle even. And it's just so smooth. Nice how it develops. So Bordeaux is probably one of the more traditional wine growing areas, or if not, maybe with Burgundy, the most traditional. But of course, modernity is also arriving there. So I wanted to talk a little bit about tradition versus modernity within the region.
As you know, Bordeaux is a very, very traditional wine region since many, many hundreds of years. And a few weeks ago, you mentioned something about the article that you read, talking about tradition and modernity, how Bordeaux managed to get more into the modern art of making wine. And there are many small things, and you told me about it. So maybe you want to tell us more about it.
Yeah, there are a few things to talk about. Definitely, I think the person who played a big role in this was Robert Parker. You know, the famous wine critic. Probably also the strictest wine rating system was out there. You know, before, like in the 70s, 80s, the Bordeaux wines, they were with less oaky flavors, more straightforward, not as fat, not as fruit forward. Once Parker came in late 90s, 2000s, there was a lot of new oak used in Bordeaux. So the wines are much more fruit forward, more oaky flavors. Back then the maceration was much longer. Now the maceration is shorter. The wines are approachable younger now, whereas back then you needed to age them longer.
I mean, I get it, definitely, because you say that the wines are more approachable when they're younger now. Of course, it's also the winemaker wants to sell the wine, of course, and I mean, this is a topic we will get to after. We will talk about imprimeur, where you buy the wines from the youngest vintage. But of course, you want to sell the wine and you want to get to your client and you want to make the wine approachable when it drops on the market. So, and as you know, in Bordeaux, it's always difficult if you open a very young vintage. As I showed the bottle before, we have a 2022, which was the last vintage released.
So they want to show more approachable wines in Bordeaux because people got impatient. They don't want to, or they can't just out of like for storage.
I mean, you buy a wine today, you buy an imprimeur wine, which we will explain after what imprimeur means. But I'm just holding up a bottle of wine for everyone that doesn't see the video. If you're just listening to the podcast, I'm just holding up a bottle of wine from the 2022 vintage, which was the last released vintage in Bordeaux. And I mean, it would be great if you buy a wine and you can drink it right away. But this kind of wines, you don't drink them now. You drink them in 10 years or more, or in 50 years.
Even this 2017, it's young now. You should age it, but the people don't have the patience anymore. So it's a great wine now, but
I think
in
you know me.
5 years it would be.
Yeah, but you know me. I like the wines when they are younger, but I also like old wines. But what means old? I mean, if a good Bordeaux should be 15, 20 years old, I think. But here we are getting to that point,
for sure.
and I think it's good to drink it now. But yeah, to come back to the topic, we want to buy wines now and we want to drink them now.
Yeah. People don't have the patience to store them for 10, 15 years.
Exactly.
People are moving around. Maybe they don't have a wine cellar or it's hard to move a wine fridge. And especially if you're not that into the topic, but you still like a good glass of wine from time to time or a good bottle, then the wines should be, that's why the winemakers want them to be more approachable so that they also are attractive for a younger crowd.
Mm-hmm. Well, so if you want to talk if you want to tell us more about the modernity topic, tell us now. If not, we're going to
So I think what also started this whole modernity tradition thing was the Judgment of Paris in 1973. Was the Judgment of Paris in 1973?
Let's get into history.
So a little bit of a history lessons. The Judgment of Paris was a blind tasting with 9 judges, I believe, from Bordeaux. And the wines from Napa were coming across the ocean. And they wanted to see whether Napa wines can compete with French wines. Back then, everything was tasted blind. 9 wine experts. 9 wine experts and I don't know how many wines they tried. It's written here. No, it's not. But there were two winners of the night. The red winner was Stag's Leap, quite famous Napa producer, still around, still producing very good wines. And best Chardonnay of the night was from Chateau Montelina, Chardonnay. There's a great movie about that, by the way. It's called Sour Grapes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it's Sour Grapes. Maybe we're wrong, but I think it is.
No, Sour Grapes is the movie with the wine fraud.
Yeah.
With Rudy
Giuliani.
Yeah.
No, not Rudy. Well, there is a movie about that. I forgot the name now. We'll add it into the comments. Quite interesting movie, and I think that's when the whole French wine thinking started to get rolling also. And that's how Napa also came on the map in Europe.
Yeah.
Because they are producing great wines.
And it's getting more and more with Napa. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, so let's get back to the topic we had before, talking about Imprimeur, which is a system in Bordeaux and in Burgundy also, which allows you to buy the wines when they're not even in the bottle. So means you get the right to buy the bottle of wine, or mostly in cases, not in bottles. You get it in cases of 6 or in cases of 12, whatever you want, or case of 3, depends. So you get the possibility to buy the wine when the wine is still on the vineyard, not even produced, not even in the bottle yet. So you always buy it 2 years before it gets released. And yeah, that's quite attractive price-wise.
The prices are amazing.
Um,
I would
that's
say
that's the next topic. The prices are not amazing because we had a very, very crazy time in Bordeaux in the last years, and now the prices are dropping again. But let's keep this topic for later again. Let's stay on the Imprimeur now. So what do you want to tell us about the Imprimeur? What else can we talk about?
so. Yeah, I mean, you buy the wines now, you receive them in 2-3 years.
Are cheaper, of course.
They are around 30% cheaper than when they come on the market. You basically, why they do it is because the winemakers have costs until the wine is in the bottle. You need to age it in oak, you need to ferment it, you need to press the grapes, you need to harvest the grapes, you need to ship the wines, you need to package the wines. It's all costs, and basically until the wine then ends up in the shop, it's 3 years where the wine producer doesn't have any capital. So that's why they offer it as at a reasonable price before it gets released.
So we're just sitting next to the Imprimeur bottles from this year. The last released Imprimeur vintage was 2022, as I said. So the last Bordeaux vintage which was released. And as you see here, so for everyone who's only watching or listening to the podcast, I'm just holding up a bottle of wine in a wooden case. Exactly. So we have the 2022, and you always receive it in the beginning of the year, let's say around March, May. You receive your Imprimeur wines. Sometimes it's quite nice because you don't have to pay the taxes when you buy it, and then when it gets released, you have to pay the taxes after. So it feels better. But it's quite crazy if you think about it, because you buy a wine 2 years before you receive it, so you already spent the money 2 years before you receive it. So it's always nice to receive it, because then you are like, oh, it's nice. Yeah, because you spent the money 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like free wine.
Yeah, we had one more topic that I just want to cut, maybe just slice it, or just how do you say that? It doesn't matter. Okay, just talking about the prices in Bordeaux, which was a very big topic in the last years because the prices exploded. We had very, very expensive wines. All the wines went up with the prices, and now, thank God, we're going down again. So many wines since this year are less expensive. So the prices dropped around 15 to 30%, which makes the whole market more attractive.
So let's play some games. First, some knowledge questions. How many times can you fit Burgundy into Bordeaux?
Okay, wow, a great question. Burgundy is much smaller than Bordeaux.
It is much smaller.
And I would say, okay, I'm just thinking of Bordeaux. 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 times.
5 times?
No, wait, 5, another 5, another 5. I would say 15 times.
15 times.
Or
Okay.
no, I was thinking, I just thought maybe 9 times, but no, let's say 9.
9 times.
Yes.
Okay. So Bordeaux is 110,000 hectares. Burgundy is 30,000 hectares. So 3.5 times.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought it's smaller.
Still with the numbers, how many bottles of wine are produced in Bordeaux every year?
Wow. I would say, I always think of Prosecco, Prosecco, they produce 700 million bottles of Prosecco every year. Only in that small region, So I don't know. I would say around the half, like a 300 million.
300 million.
Or 300 to 500 million.
It is 500 to 600 million.
Okay.
But not bad. We're getting closer.
Yeah.
And what are the 5 most expensive wines ranking from 1 to 5 from Bordeaux? Doesn't matter vintage, and we don't consider special editions.
Okay, just wineries.
Wineries.
Okay, so of course we have Petrus,
Number 1.
number 1. On the second one, I would put maybe La Fleur or Le Pin.
La Fleur, Le Pin.
La Fleur.
La Fleur is number 3.
Okay, so La Fleur is number 2.
Number 2.
La Fleur number 3, as you said.
Yeah.
Wow, difficult. The next one. Maybe we were talking about Lafite or Mouton Rothschild.
No,
There's something in between.
there's something in between.
Mm-hmm. Cheval Blanc? No.
No.
No, Cheval Blanc? No. Wow, no, sure.
Aubryon Blanc.
Aubryon Blanc, okay.
And number 5?
Number 5. So now we are talking about Lafite or Mouton or
Lafite.
Lafite, okay.
So we have number 1 Petrus, number 2 Le Pin, number 3 La Fleur, Aubryon Blanc, and Lafite.
Yeah, amazing.
And we had this also last time in the Tuscany session.
Mm-hmm.
Here are 150 euros. Buy me 3 wines that represent Bordeaux.
3 wines, so I would go for 50 euros each.
You can also do one for 20, one for 100.
Yeah, just
for a beginner who wants to get serious.
So I'm a big fan of Chateau Péchevel.
80-ish euros.
Yeah, something around that. I think it got more expensive in the meanwhile, but let's stick on the around 80 euros. So Chateau Péchevel is an amazing wine. I really like it. I think that it's a great wine for it's an amazing wine for that price. It is. So let's say Chateau Péchevel. Maybe going to the second growth wines. To explain second growth wine, we have a big winery.
Second label, you may say.
Second growth, second label, yeah. So for example, talking about Chateau Margaux, we have the Pavillon Rouge. That would be the second wine of Chateau Margaux, which is less expensive.
Also like 200 euros.
Yeah, but still expensive. But yeah, so you're right. Let's not talk about second.
Yeah. I mean, there are other big wineries that have second labels.
Yeah. No, but let's stick on the ones I said. So Chateau Péchevel, around 80 euros. Then I would go for Chateau La Roque. It's on the right. Chateau Jean Forêt, on the right bank. I think they are the neighbors of Cheval Blanc, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we pay for that? Around 30 euros?
No, around 50.
50, okay. Okay, so we have 30 years left. Yeah, so we go to Sauternes, Chateau Rieux-Sec.
Second wine of Rieux-Sec, maybe.
Yeah, Charme de Rieux-Sec or Rieux-Sec, but I think that sometimes you can get the Rieux-Sec around that price.
Half depends, yeah.
Yeah, depends on the vintage and everything, but yeah. Half bottle, of course, because the sweet wines, it's a sweet wine. And sometimes you get the wines also in half bottles because it's a very sweet wine, and some people just enjoy to have one glass of sweet wine instead of a whole bottle of wine. So it's nice to have half bottles in that case. What about you? What would you do?
Right bank, you stole my idea with Jean Forêt. But my first choice would be Jean Forêt, but since we had that, I would go for Petit Figeac. Left bank, I would probably go for the second wine of Léoville Las Casses. It's called Le Petit Lion.
Léoville Las Casses. I'm just okay.
I don't know if you can get it for that price, but I think it's around 50-60 euros. If not,
that's 150 plus or minus 10%.
Left bank, I would go for Félan Ségur, 40-50 euros. Petit Figeac and Gué Guiraud. Rank these wine and food pairings without knowing what comes next from 1 to 5. Käsekreiner and Chateau d'Yquem.
Number 2.
Veggie burger and Chateau Margaux.
No, number 5.
Ribeye and Chateau Figeac.
I would go for number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Rotisserie chicken and Aubryon Blanc.
Then number 4.
Number 4. And chocolate cake and Chateau Palmer.
Oh yeah. So last one, number 4. Number 3, of course. But
Okay.
yeah, I think it's a good one. But yeah, I don't like chicken, so I would put Aubryon Blanc and chicken on the 5th. And then I would also mention that I'm not a big fan of Aubryon Blanc. Because remember, I brought a bottle for Fabian's birthday, and we all had it the first time. We were all a bit,
For that price.
yeah. But it was a young vintage. Maybe it doesn't matter. Let's
Yeah.
not talk about it.
Now it's time for the community questions. You guys send us some messages on Instagram. You guys commented, so we appreciate that. Keep on doing that. First question I have here. Is Bordeaux better than Burgundy, and what do you prefer?
So I would say you can't compare Burgundy with Bordeaux, first of all.
Not at all.
Because it's completely different. In Burgundy, we're talking about Pinot Noir. In Bordeaux, we're talking about Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, rich wines, full-bodied wines. Of course, you have full-bodied wines also in Burgundy, but it's different. We're talking about 2 completely different grape varieties, 2 completely different styles of wines.
It's a preference. Some prefer Bordeaux, some prefer Burgundy.
Yeah, so I prefer Burgundy if I would have to choose. Sometimes, it depends also on the situation. If it's getting colder now and you're eating a nice ossobuco somewhere, it's Italian food, but with a nice Bordeaux wine, it's amazing. Compared with Burgundy, it can be a 30-degree day outside and you can open a bottle of Burgundy and it's just perfect to enjoy. It's just a different wine, and I love Burgundy. I love Pinot Noir.
It's the way to go recently.
Exactly.
What to look for on a bottle on Bordeaux? What to look for on a bottle of Bordeaux?
What do you think?
Classification. The year it was made, the region it is from. So let's talk here. We have the classification Grand Cru Classé. We have the vintage 2017. We have the Chateau Smith Haute Lafitte, and then we have the region Pessac-Léognan. Sometimes you find a winemaker, in this case Daniel et Florent Catillard.
Just to mention for the people who are just listening, Philip is just showing us where you can find these things that he just mentioned on the bottle of wine, but most of the times you just see it on the front label.
Yeah. So look at the front label, look for the vintage, look for the classification, and look for the region, and this should give you an indication of how the wine can be. I guess this is for our Vienna community. What is the best restaurant for food and wine
in Vienna?
In Vienna.
So the first thing that comes into my mind is that restaurant in the 3rd district. It's called Heunischen Erben.
Heunischen Erben is amazing.
Because they have a great wine menu with also nice and older vintages.
Yeah.
And yeah, they have something for everyone, I would say. The food is very good also. I really like that one. What do you think of?
I think similar to that is Must. It's like a wine bistro, but like elevated dining, I would say. Amazing food, beautiful wine list, really good service. Little bit more on the younger side, I would say. And I think what's really important to mention is we have with Palais Coburg and their 2 restaurants, Clementine and Kevin Fehling, the biggest wine cellar, the 2nd biggest wine cellar in Europe here. It's crazy. So you can book wine tours there if you're in Vienna. You can go on the website Palais Coburg, and a good friend of ours will do the tour actually. And they have one whole wine cellar, just Chateau d'Yquem. And then they have a Bordeaux cellar. You have no imagination how big it is.
Yeah, they have crazy wines there.
This is definitely also one. What is the best winery to visit? Have you visited Bordeaux?
No.
Okay.
To be honest, no.
So,
not yet. Sadly, not yet.
Unfortunately, many wineries in Bordeaux are only open for professionals, but there are some wineries that have a hotel and Michelin star dining and all these things on site. For example, a winery we both really like is Côte d'Estronnel. They have a nice hotel there and dining. And last question from the community: what are some legendary bottles and vintages from Bordeaux?
So legendary bottles, vintages. Okay, let's start with vintages. So the most legendary vintage, I would say, is 1945.
1945, absolutely. Yeah, end of the war. We have Chateau Mouton Rothschild
Yeah.
starting with their artist labels.
Exactly.
Legendary vintage. Lafitte Petrus 1945.
61 is also a crazy vintage.
61. I think Ikiem was amazing in 61.
Yeah.
From there we go to 82.
82
70s were kind of not so great. 82.
Yeah.
We have also there again Mouton Lafitte. It's insane wines.
82, then we go to the 2000, which was legendary.
Mouton again, the Golden Sheep.
Yeah.
Amazing bottle.
And from there, we have 2005, 2009,
2010 also.
2010, 2015, 16.
Yeah.
18, 19 was also a 100-point vintage for many wineries.
I think Bordeaux really has a benefit from the climate getting warmer and warmer. It feels like there are more legendary vintages coming up. Of course,
that's
there are
also
challenges also
for many people.
Yeah.
So, that's what I just said. We're just having a great wine, 2017, which was a cooler vintage, which it's just a thing of a preference. It doesn't mean that you have to listen to what the critics say. You should start developing your own taste buds.
In fact, you shouldn't listen to what the critics say.
No, I think it's important just to...
It gives you an idea, but I don't know. Also the critics have their preference. There are, let's talk about Parker. So many fat Napa wines or Bordeaux wines with a lot of wood to get 100 points, but then you go to Burgundy or Champagne and you rarely find any 100-point wines. Why is that? Because they like fatter wines, Americans. Whereas if you go to Europe, Asia, they are more on the Burgundy Champagne side because
Asia, they also
like, yeah, you can't summarize.
Yeah,
I think it's just so. Thank you to the community for these questions. Next time we will be talking about Champagne. So if you have any questions about that, please text us on Instagram. You can text us on YouTube. If you have any questions, we will make sure to include them. And now a question for you. Obviously, you like Bordeaux. Why is Bordeaux so iconic and unique for you also?
I mean, Bordeaux is, as we talked before, it's tradition. It's just it's a wine region where when you go to Bordeaux, when you drink Bordeaux, you have something right in your glass. It's rich, it's full-bodied. It's not always full-bodied, but the wines I like from Bordeaux are full-bodied. And I think it's a place to go where you can make a mistake. I just feel well there. I started learning about wines. I started drinking wines from Bordeaux, and I collect wines from Bordeaux. For me, it's just also an emotional thing. And also kind of connected to the wineries. I didn't even, visit them, but I just like reading about them. I just like to collect them. And yeah, I love the wines and I love to drink the wines. I like to share the wines with my friends. I like to share the wines with you.
Thank you.
And with Sebastian on the other side of the camera. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I have similar feelings. I feel like Bordeaux is, for many people, the entrance into the wine world. From there, okay, Bordeaux is available everywhere and there are many, many good wines. Then, okay, I like this style. I maybe now explore Napa a little bit, or I try wines from Spain which are in a similar cuvée. Or you say, oh, Bordeaux is maybe a bit too fat for me. Okay, now I can try some Pinot Noir from Burgundy, or I go to Germany. So but then if you say, okay, it's exactly the right thing, then you can stick with it and you can go down the rabbit hole to Le Pen, Petrus, and whatsoever. So I think it's a nice entry, but it's also nice to stay there.
And you know what I was just thinking of? If you think of old world, the first thing I would think of is Bordeaux. Yeah. So it's they're the masters of wine. They're the people who started doing wine.
That's Georgia, but it's fine.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Don't listen to Philip.
Yeah. But yeah, they started the style of wine that we know now.
Yeah.
Well, do we know and that we appreciate.
Exactly. So I think we're coming to an end. Thank you so much for listening to our second episode. Yeah, we hope we're getting better and better after a while. So we're just trying to get all these nice questions and also from our community just to get the feeling what you want to hear, what we should talk about in the future. And as Philip mentioned before, the next episode, the third one, will be about champagne. So we're very, very happy to get your questions, to get your comments, to get your feedback about this podcast. And yeah, very happy to talk to you next time, Phil.
Definitely. Let us know if you have any questions. Hit the like and subscribe. Let us know if you want us to invite any guests. Also, we should start inviting guests, by the way.
And
Maybe
click on the clock
on you. Because I think, okay, we are two very smart people, but I think also it's nice for people to listen to a third one in the room.
Yes.
So let us know what kind of guests you want to have here. I think that's it for now. Stay tuned for champagne next time, and
bubbly bubble.
cheers.
Cheers. I'm empty, but cheers. No, you're not. No, okay.